Welcome to part 1 in starting a science fair project and how to pick your topic. This is the most important part of the project that you can possibly do. This is part 1 in a series of videos designed as part of a workshop brought to you by the Ritchey Science and Engineering Fair at Weber State University in Ogden, Utah. My name is Dr. John Soule, and I'm a physics professor at Weber State University. Yep, that would be me right there. I want to talk to you today about the most important part of your science fair project, and that is selecting the topic. Picking the right topic will make all the difference in the world as to how well you will do in science fair and how much you will enjoy it. This is an incredibly important part of your overall project. Okay, so let's start out with the most important part of this whole thing. And that is, this project has to be something that you are really interested in and something that you have a personal passion for. If you don't have a passion for this, then you're just simply not going to enjoy it. It has to be something that you're going to find very, very interesting. It also has to be something that you have the skill set to be able to accomplish. If your project requires that you have graduate level experience with deep, detailed information, it's probably not a good choice for you. If your project requires skill sets, such as, for example, if you're doing an engineering project and your project requires that you be able to weld some things together and you have never welded anything before, you've got two choices. 1, pick another project, or 2, better learn how to weld. So you've got to do one of those things. It's got to be something that you either have the skill set for or that you are willing to develop that skill set to be able to do. Also, it has to be something for which you have reasonable resources. If your project requires large, multi-billion-dollar international devices like the particle accelerator CERN, located in France, it is probably not a good project. It's probably time to scale things back a little bit. So you need to make sure that you have the resources that you need and that you have the mentors, the people who can help you with this, that you need to accomplish the job. My experience has been that the most successful projects usually have a mentor associated with the project, so you have to make sure you have those people available to you as well. Okay, so what you need to do is pick a project that is not so narrow as to be something that you can still work with, because your project will evolve in time. If you make your project too tight, it'll be difficult to be flexible and to be able to evolve with changing information. So, you need to realize that no project that you're going to start of any value, and certainly no project I've ever started of any value or magnitude, didn't change in the course of time. You will discover new things, and the direction of your project that it will take will vary as things evolve. And that's an important part of doing science and engineering. The whole point to science and engineering is to improve and increase knowledge and increase our ability to accomplish things. To do this, you need to start off right. You need to have an idea or be interested in some field that you are personally interested in. So now you've got that chosen, what do you need to do? The first thing you need to do is get informed. Probably already think you know something about this, but I'll bet you there's more that you can learn. That's certainly always true for most scientists, that the more we think we know, the more there is to still learn. So you need to find out what other people have done before you and what other people perhaps are doing right now. That means doing a lot of reading. You're going to have to read some summary articles. You're going to have to read various news articles that are science and engineering news type articles. And we're going to talk about how you can do that. Once you start doing that, then you can start to narrow your topic ideas down. Once you have narrowed your topic ideas down, now you can start to get some real guidance going, and perhaps with that guidance you can help narrow things down some more as well, so that you can get into an area that you're going to be able to now concentrate on. So, as I mentioned earlier, pretty much every project that has been very, very successful that I've judged, and I've judged over 10,000 science fair projects, those most successful projects almost always have some mentor involved in these things. So the fact is, there are people who know more than you do. Surprising as that may be, they are there. There are people who know more than you do. And there are people who care about you, and they want to help you succeed. You should take advantage of this. So you want to ask these people for suggestions on topics within the area that you have chosen, or perhaps some related area that they know about that you have not considered. Ask them for suggestions also as to where you can find more information to help you refine your project. The first thing you got to realize, though, is you got to start doing that notebook. The notebook is an amazingly important thing. The notebook. It is a notebook. This is something that is going to be evolving and is going to be a living document, something that you're going to be doing an awful lot with. Your science fair judges will, in fact, look at your notebooks if you have them there. And your notebooks need to be living documents. Here's my notebook, for example. And so if we just look at my notebook, you can see that I've got just notes and stuff. I've got scratch outs, but I always have the date. And I make little notes of things that I see, and I'll put stars by them at the side. And I put sketches and drawings and things like that. So here's an example of my notebook where I've got some things in here that I'm carefully looking at the layout of how things would work in the system. And I am constantly putting down any little thought that I have. I put down flow diagrams on how my ideas might evolve, and I'm always putting the date on every page and every time I start something new in my notebook. So your notebook should be exactly that, a place where you keep all your notes and sketches and any other ideas that you've got in there. It's a key part of your overall science fair project. This notebook is an example, or this page out of a notebook is an example of a good quality notebook that made a big difference. In Gould's notebook, he defined the term laser, and he also defined the laser cavity for the first time. This notebook, involved in 30 years of court battles, finally resulted in all royalties going to Dr. Gould. The result is he became an overnight billionaire. So this one page was one of the many important pages in his notebook, and it made a big difference. Alrighty, so you've got your notebook, you're jotting ideas down, but you need to get some of those ideas as well. Where's a good place to start? Well, there's this awesome resource called sciencebuddies.org. Sciencebuddies.org is a place that has all sorts of resources, including access to online mentors that can help you with some of your questions. People who are experts in their field that are ready to answer questions that you have. Now, there's a really important place to start, and that's the Project Ideas area. So start right there at Project Ideas. Click on that and then start entering in how much time you have, and what sort of project you want to work on, how many things you want to do. All of this information is going to be taken through a special algorithm that will decide what kind of project might be reasonable for you to consider. Now, just because you get an idea doesn't mean you need to do that project. But that gives you an idea of some sorts of projects that you might consider or allow to evolve and move forward with. Now that you've got these ideas, you need to get informed and refine them. So that means the internet. It also means the library. So the internet is certainly full of pretty weird things. There's a lot of garbage on the internet. So one of the things you can do is look for the source of the page and the information you've got. If your internet page that you're getting information on ends in reputable things like .edu, that's probably a university. If it ends in .gov for government or any major company, such as, for example, Intel or AMD or Regeneron, if it's any of these sort of large, respectable companies, then you can probably trust the information that you see and find on that page. You can also go to various online and also print newsletters and science news type journals. Your school library will almost certainly have the journal called Science News. Science News is an excellent place to start. Science News is designed specifically for you as a student getting started in science. Also, their online page is excellent. If you look at their online page, you get this header that we've got right here. And as you look at this header, you can click on things that are interesting to you. Genes and cells, humans, science and society, matter and energy. All these sorts of things are things that you can find more information about by just clicking on that particular resource. A place that I like to go to find information about current science topics is Science Daily. It's a great place to find out what people are doing research on at a very easy to understand level that doesn't require a huge amount of background to be able to work your way through it. So the first step is going through these news type journals, such as Science News and Science Direct. Then you can start to do the second step where you get into more advanced topics that are covered in the professional societies, such as the Physics Today journal, which is published by the American Physical Society. If you're finding a field that you're interested in and you want to learn more about it, try typing in keywords like society or perhaps things like association or institute. So if you typed in, for example, the Ecology Society, you would find ESA, the Ecological Society of America. So these sorts of places will get you started on more advanced topics in the area that you're interested in, and yet still not be full-on research articles, which is the third level and the most difficult to work through. Another level of introductory article that's a step above Science News and in Science Daily is Scientific American. One of the great things about Scientific American is your school library almost certainly has a subscription to it. And if not, the public library does, the local university does. All the libraries that will be important to you will have a copy of this, and some of the stuff is available online for free. Scientific American also has an initiative called Citizen Science. If you go to the Citizen Science page, that's this page that you got showing right in here, what you will see is again a large set of subtopics that you can click on, and when you click on those subtopics, those will allow you to get specific information on projects that are happening in those fields. You could just simply join in on one of those projects and turn that into your science fair project. Also, you could look into some of those projects, talk to some of those people, and ask them, hey, I don't really quite want to do this, but I'm interested in something close. Do you have any ideas? And let them provide you with some ideas on ways that you might move forward with your topic. All right, so now you have a project and it's time to move forward with it. Well, the library searches never stop. You have to continue to refine and narrow your ideas down, and you need to make sure that you are doing stuff that has not already been done or stuff that doesn't make any sense to do because somebody else has already discovered that it doesn't really work. So you got to really use your notebook a lot. Here's where you're going to be making lots of notes about things, jotting down information about what's going on. Once you find an advisor or a mentor, you can ask them for some suggestions about journal articles to read, journals to look into as a whole and to hunt through. Find out more ideas about what terms to use for internet searches. Now, here's the key thing. Your research mentor or advisor, whether that's just somebody in your family or whether that's somebody at a university, government laboratory, something like that, these are very, very busy people. So you want to arrive prepared. If you arrive prepared, they'll be happy to talk with you again. If you don't arrive prepared, they will not be anxious to do another appointment with you. So make sure you're prepared. And that means that you've got to have these questions ready. I can't overemphasize. These questions are key. So make sure you have these questions all taken care of and written down in your notebook where you can find them quickly so that when you arrive at your mentor, what I like to do is have the questions numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and as I ask the questions, I can put down an answer section. I can say answer 1, and that way I can tie it back to my questions in my notebook very, very easily. Okay, so now you have a project, you've narrowed it down, you have a mentor. My next part on choosing and refining your project will be on how to read journal articles. So stay tuned for part 2, and good luck on your science fair project.